started, we'll go ahead and ask Mr. Lowry to come up and give us some information and instructions, and we certainly appreciate getting to be here again today.
Thank you. Welcome y'all from the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. Just a few things. The restrooms and break area are located in the center part of the building at the front. Exit door, if anything comes up, any type of emergency, y'all will follow Kevin and Kim out and go to the right into a designated spot, and we will touch base with y'all then. Thank y'all for what you do. Again, it's very important, and everybody have a happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Okay. At this time, we will call to order the December 21st meeting of the Charter Authorizing Panel. I want to welcome everyone, add to Mr. Lowry's welcome. I know it's getting close to the holiday season, so we do appreciate you being here, and we're excited to get to hear from you today. And we started out yesterday morning with sharing some of our experiences in getting to be in schools. I think it's always great when we can be out there getting to see the great work that's going on. I know different members of the panel have had an opportunity to visit many different places, and our team members at the Department of Education are always excited once they've gotten to come and visit with you. So before we get into the agenda, does anyone on the panel have anything that they would like to express this morning? Okay, Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chairman, I just would like the panel and others to know that I was able to visit Northwest Academy in Bentonville a month or two ago, because I might have to leave early today. I want you all to know that I was quite impressed with the program there, with the teachers, with the students. I was able to talk to many of the students and observe some of the classes. I was convinced that their operation there is a first-class, well-supported learning situation for that community. And if I do have to be early, I want you all to know that I will look forward to their renewal. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I had an opportunity to visit the Arkansas Arts Academy, and it was a good visit. I'm going to kind of hold my specific comments since they're our first process here.
Okay, so at this time I'd like to introduce the charter panel. We do have a few of our members who are not here today. My name is Ivy Pfeffer, and I am the ADE Deputy Commissioner. Dr. Mike Hernandez is here to my left. He's the State Superintendent for the Office of Coordinated Support and Service. Kathy Turner is the Deputy Director for Career and Technical Education at the Arkansas Department of Career Education. Mr. Mike Wilson is an education advocate and attorney in Jacksonville. And Dr. Nathan Williams is a former State Board of Education member, and he's here with us today. We do have a couple of members, Dr. Jeremy Owa and Ms. Troy Smith, who are not here with us. As chair, it's my goal to facilitate a fair and responsible hearing. And I will ask that each person speaking please state your name and title for the record. And also ask, that you speak clearly into the microphone. That goes for panel members as well, because this entire meeting is being live streamed for our viewing audience, and also it is a little difficult for us to hear, so we do ask that you really try to grab that microphone and pull it close. Ms. Sharon Hill, the court reporter, will be providing a transcript of the meeting, and it will be posted on the ADE website. So So at this time, we will go ahead and get started with our action agenda. And Ms. Jennifer Davis, our attorney, will come up and go through the process with us this morning.
Morning, Jennifer Davis, staff attorney for the department. The procedures you're going to follow today will be much like those you followed yesterday. All persons, with the exception of attorneys, will need to be sworn in. The applicant will have 20 minutes to make its presentation to you, followed 20 minutes by collectively any opposition that there may be. The applicant will then have an additional 5 minutes to respond to any opposition or make any final statements to you. You can ask any questions of the department or any staff that's here or the applicant in order to make your decision. You can make your decision today on the agenda item, or you can choose to defer it to a future meeting. If you vote today, you do have a Google Doc for you to go ahead and make your reasons for your vote in there that are known for the state board and also the applicant. Any question?
All right, thank you, Ms. Davis. So the first item on our agenda is the request for open enrollment public charter school renewal for the Arkansas Arts Academy in Rogers. And Ms. Boyd, you are recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Alexandra Boyd, Director of Charter Schools. On November 13th, 2000, the State Board of Education approved the application for Arkansas Arts Academy. The charter is approved to serve students in grades K through 12 with a maximum enrollment of 1,225. Representatives of Arkansas Arts Academy are appearing before the charter authorizing panel to request a renewal of their current charter. As a reminder, the request for renewal time for this charter is for 10 years. And the first person you'll hear from on behalf of Arkansas Arts Academy is Mary Lay. She is the superintendent of the charter.
Okay, so will all representatives from the Arkansas Arts Academy and anyone speaking in opposition please stand to receive the oath. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yeah. Thank you. Ms. Lay, thank you.
Happy holidays. So we're excited. This is our last day of school today, so that's why the principals didn't come, because when you're a performing school, we're performing a lot today. So it's cool. We're real excited about being here. We have so much to share and so much joy and so much passion, and feel like in the last 3 years we've really come a long, long way, and that we are something the whole state can be proud of. Our mission is to be the ultimate K-12 choice for excellence in arts and academics, and we feel we are well on our way of being just that. We have a clear and shared focus based on the foundation of 4 pillars, and we never waver from these, and all of our goals are around these 4 pillars: academics, arts integration, museum initiative, and mastery of the arts. We stay clear on what our school's about, and they are all of our goals and lesson plans and are all wrapped around those 4 pillars. That's what keeps us strong and makes us the unique special school we are. We've had many changes over the last 3 years, and these are the changes and assurances that we have made since our last renewal. Innovative and creative principals. We've hired 2 new principals in the last 3 years that are just amazing. And a lot of us all come from Bentonville Public Schools. I was executive director, and Matt was the principal there. Natalie was their chief financial officer. She's our CFO now. And we feel like we've been a great hybrid of knowing what was right about traditional public schools and what is really exciting and inspiring about charter schools. So it's been great to blend our past knowledge and the excitement of what we've learned with our new knowledge of what the charter is all about. We have a development of
second best high school in the state by U.S. News and World Report. We have received Arkansas Recognition School Status every year since its conception. We became a national level art school network exemplary school. Last year, we only had a graduation class around 49 last year, and 5 of them were Governor's Scholar recipients. We had a 97% graduation rate. We started entering all the contests that we can in the arts, and we were the best Governor's Visual Art Award in ink and best in pencil drawing. For the first time, we have AP Arts that should have been there forever, but we are finally where we should be there. And we have needed a score of 5 on the AP exam. We had graduates last year accepted in Art Institute in Chicago, Kansas City, Wrigley College of Art and Design, Savannah School of Art and Design in Georgia, music programs at Oklahoma City, music programs at Belmont College, and dance programs in California. So, we're getting our kids to be accepted at the highest levels of schools in their areas. That's going to be hard for me to see, but you can see it, I'm sure. We're real proud of where the K-8 has come. Out of 30 categories in the assessment states ACT Aspire, we went up in 24 areas. And some as much as, I think it was 7 or 8 categories where we went up 20-30%. And then 3 we stayed the same, but we were already high. 3 we did not do very well, but we have already implemented strategies, changed staffing in that area, and that was in the 3rd grade, and we've already made the provisions it needs to succeed there too. Arts integration is not like any other. We have traveled to every major art school in the nation. Nobody has arts integration like we do at Crystal Bridges Museum and the other local museums. This is the kids to the left are working with a Broadway specialist there. That's creative writing in the museum over there. That's kids recycling and having a fashion show out of recycled junk. That is kids singing at the Peel Mansion songs of that era to all the 4th graders in Northwest Arkansas. That's a student having poetry slam that is honoring peace and love and all the things that we need to do better in this country. That's art in the middle that represents the DNA loss during the Hitler regime, and made into sculpture so that we understand what was lost during that time. So those are all examples. We had 72 field experiences last year, 22 trips to Crystal Bridges last year, and every one of those crayons represents a museum that we're involved in. There's more museum experiences. Our kids perform at Crystal Bridges. They perform at Peel Mansion. They designed the National Park Pass for Pea Ridge Military Park. They're at the Indian Museum there down at the bottom and sketching and learning from the past and then doing their own art. That is an art show at the Community Creative Center in Fayetteville where they also participate as visiting artists. This is a Shiloh Museum where kids first help shave the sheep and then made the wool, and then now they get to weave the wool so they see the whole process. In Mastering the Arts, we have piano studios now from kindergarten on up all the way through high school. We have orchestra, we have theater, we have dance, we have guitar. We had 75 kids on the stage last year, all rocking it out at one time. If you want to feel good, you got to see 75 kids play the guitar at one time on stage. It was pretty amazing. There's all the things that we have. We have creative writing. We have such a special teacher in creative writing at the high school. I call her the teacher whisperer. She's so amazing. And she never raises her voice. She has this environment just where kids just get her, and she walks them through town where they see things and feel things, and then they come and do their writing, and then they go to Crystal Bridges and sign it for the art. Very exciting program. Those are new programs that will be added when high school opens in the fall to new high school. Beyond the arts, we have cross-country, archery, mountain biking competition, and we also added junior high or middle school basketball this year. We haven't won anything, but we've learned to be graceful winners and losers. So we've learned how to put ourselves out there and do it with grace. But it's good for kids to learn to put themselves out there and not be afraid. This is the K-8 campus that used to be kind of yucky, but Marlon Blackwell designed that free for us, the entry to the K-8 office. We redid our gym. We shared the gym with all the other local charter schools and private schools in competitions. We competed against private schools. The other day, it's really cool. And we even had our pet band out there, so it was a lot of fun. That's the mountain bike trails that we have to train kids how to ride mountain bikes. And that's the way our hallways are painted with lots of design. This is our high school. Alexander was kind to put a updated picture in front of you today. But that's what our high school looked like, and that's where it was yesterday. And the picture on the bottom shows the back, it's not the front. Because what you see on that right-hand corner there, that building, that's the way the building in the back looks too. The one you see on the right-hand corner is more academics, and the one you see in the back will be more arts. So we're very excited about our new building. It will represent our state very well, of what a national level art school should look like. And our teachers are so excited. They put the new heating and air conditioning systems in the frames yesterday, and that's what they're most excited about, because sometimes they don't work. So they're real excited about that. Here's our last slide. The difference between now and the last renewal of the new principals of both campuses. We have changed about a third of the staff. We have learned that highly qualified instructors are everything, and although we do, in the arts especially, hire people that do not always have master's degrees and educational license, we found that in the core subjects that we just think that the highly qualified instructors are to our students' advantage. We are very supportive of all staff with great great professional development. We are a partnership with A+. We're a partnership with AIMS. We constantly have all kinds of professional development to make all our teachers highly qualified. We have clear staff expectations. We have clear goals. We have a 10-year plan. It's a living document, and it meets every strategy and every need that we have, from our facilities to our curriculum to our recruitment to everything that changes, and then our team quarterly goes through our 10-year plan and updates it as it's needed to meet the needs and goals of our vision and mission. We have over 400 on the waiting list. When I started 3.5 years ago, we had 88 on the waiting list. So the team has worked very, very hard, and so proud of them. We have high academic achievement now in both schools, one on technology, National Level Arts Program. Natalie is the CPA, BA in accounting, and our chief financial officer. She keeps us in line. It makes us very professional, and we're very proud of what she does for us. And we continually improve communications with all stakeholders. We have a financial sustainability plan that you helped pass not too long ago. We are a fearless, creative, driven academic team. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Boyd, is there anyone here in opposition? No? Okay. All right. Well, if you are finished with your presentation, then we can proceed to questions.
Yeah, I do want to say one more thing. The reason why I feel it's applicable to ask for 10 years is when we just raised our bond money for our new high school, people have been so kind to us, and within that same statement, I want to say the State Department of Education, I want to say the Charter Department of the state have been very kind to us. Anybody we have called has been nothing but very helpful, and we just want to recognize every department has been responsive to anything we're insecure about or do not know about. They always get back with us right away and are supportive, and I just think that's worth saying, because I don't know if they're always valued like they should be, but they should be. And then I want to say that when we had to get bonds for our school, Cruz and Associates and Edmund Hurst helped us get those bonds, and he was so excited that the day the bonds were put up to purchase, they sold out in 2 hours and 15 minutes at a low rate of 4.3%. And they refinanced their old bonds and saved us $610,000. But he said it was the mission and the vision of the school and what we had done, and even the 10-year plan that they shared, that people felt like it was secure to loan us their money for a 30-year plan. So we think it's only fair to them to say that we're supported with a 10-year renewal. And we're really proud of how excited he was, how well people bought into what our charter school and what our state is representing. And now I'm done. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so we are ready to start with questions. Do you want to start, Dr. Williams?
Yes. I guess I go to my business. I don't have a lot of questions because we just had a deal recently. So my biggest question would have been around the financial model. And we addressed that previously. So I guess I just touched a little bit on my visit there. learning that's taking place. You have outstanding leadership there. What's most importantly, these kids can graduate and they can go to world-renowned art students on the next level. So, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to think of something that we really need to focus on, but we kind of, for me, we addressed that at your most recent visit here.
Questions about your facility? Do you anticipate that your new construction will allow you to take in additional students to cut down on the waiting list?
Yes, sir.
What's your guesstimate? Will you be able to take everybody that wants to do it?
Our figures right now is,
The way our case, which will now be K-6 facility, will be able to add another 20 students per grade next year. We were hoping 40, but we don't have room. And so if we take another 20 off that waiting list for each grade, and additional kids by moving the 7th, 8th grade over to the high school, we'll have about 150 left on the waiting list. So we'll be able to take most of them. And that 250, 300 that we'll have next year will definitely give us, we're making our payments now. I mean, we're already paying our bond issue now, the full price, and we're doing it, and we were able to even give our teachers bonuses. But we're able to do it because of Natalie. And Natalie was the financial director for Bentonville and wanted more time with her family, so she wanted a smaller environment. But I'm so blessed to have somebody that's a CPA and a graduate in that area, and she's real straightforward with good financial management. So we're real blessed to have they say that one person that nobody's indispensable, but I disagree. And she's pretty important to me. So I'm real blessed. She's my Christmas present every day all year. So we're making our payments now, and with 300 more students, we hope to be still tight for a couple of years. And then one thing that I'm really proud of our teachers are amazing people that are there because they want to be there. They're there because they love children. They're there because they like the arts mission. I can truly stand up here. I mean, I did take my oath. I can truly say that. We're surrounded by 4 big districts that make 11,000 more a year. And they stay with us because they feel it. And that's the optimism you can have as a board, and we can have as a country, that education is still very healthy in a lot of ways. You know, this has been a bad year for the country in so many ways. Men have taken such a beating lately, but even though I'm a woman superintendent, I've been blessed with great men around me that are so pure with their families and their people and our kids at school. And like Mr. Skelton, our assistant principal that came with us from Harding, who was helping teachers be teachers, he wants to work with kids. What a concept. And a father and a husband and a son that's always believed that I could do anything. And then Edmund Hurst, and then the architect that designed that high school didn't charge me anything for 2 years because he just believed in the mission. So our community has been behind us, and that's what makes it so special.
Dr. Hernandez, do you have questions? Ms. Ladd, I have
Sure.
a couple of questions. I'm looking at the data.
Mhm.
Thank you you did a great job with your application, providing us with your achievement data.
Thank you.
The charts. So that it's very helpful to
Sure.
have in one place. On your 2016 and 17, and I guess I think what really caught my attention was your 2017 ACT Aspire in English Language Arts. Your third grade reading scores,
Right.
and they were they actually were lower in 17
Yes.
than they were in 16. And when you look at your data, I wonder what you all are doing in terms of reading and promoting that reading.
Absolutely.
And, so what's going on to really shore that up and to ensure, because your scores then do go up after that. So can you talk to us a little bit about what's going on very
Sure.
early at that point?
Well, that was one of those situations where it was more of an employee. One of the teachers had taken off lots of days, and we replaced that employee in January. And also, 4th grade on had a lot, really used the devices more. they had reading, but extra reading supplemental things on their Chromebooks, and third grade hadn't done that. And also, we brought in more professional development, but there's all new teachers in the third grade level and specific professional development for them. And we also have purchased much more curriculum. When I started there 3.5 years ago, it was kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. One teacher was teaching what she wanted, and one teacher was teaching what she wanted, and one teacher was teaching what she wanted. Now they're all on the same page, and they have team discussions, and our principal's very good at sitting down with them to say, now, where are we at? Where's your pacing guides? What are your goals? We also switched our media specialist. She's amazing and has reading, points where the more books you read, the more little tokens you get, and she also instructs them how to use the library. Another thing our principal's been so great at is a creative schedule that allows daily interventions. There's a pocket wherever a kid's weak, other kids get to do more. We have PE for life, where it's just every day. While they're at PE for life, then we also use that for an intervention time. If a child is struggling at reading, we bring in other people to help them with that reading. So all those have been changed since those scores. And Mr. Skelton, would you like to say anything on that, of what you guys have all done at the K?
And I think also as you're addressing that, what the K1-2 levels, the things going on at that K2 really have a direct impact.
Right.
Because it can't all get done in grade.
That's right.
So
well, we have some really great first grade teachers. I want to say this about our school, and our kids. We have some kids that come in exceptionally bright, and with kids that have had a lot of pre-K and all that. We have a lot of kids who parents choose because they're mad at the other schools. I'm just being honest with you. And they'll be mad at any school. I mean, the kids haven't had pre-K and whatever. But what's exciting for you to look at is by the time they get to high school, we're the second best school in the state. And so that has happened, like our high school principal. Right now, every Tuesday and Thursday, any child that got a D on anything stays after, and they have teachers for free that aren't even on their contract stay to work with those kids that have a D, and teachers, students that are real successful academically stay, and their scores go up. So it's not because the high school has, they come with, and we help them get through that. Do you want to say what else is going on at the K-8? He's our assistant principal.
I'm David Skelton, the assistant principal at the K-8 building, and so happy to be there and to see what's going on inside the building and also outside the building. But I would like to speak on our intervention program that we have in place, where our students that are struggling in different areas, and we identify that both by classroom assessment and by maps, using that throughout the year to find out where our kids are now, so that the interventions that we put in place are appropriate. And what we do is we bring in teachers from a different grade level to work with those kids. A lot of times, maybe their teacher that they have all day may be missing something, but by bringing in another staff member to work with 5 or 6 students on particular skills is very appropriate, I believe. Also, we use the Northwest Arkansas Education Co-op to provide PD. All of our teachers have been trained or are in the training process of Charlotte Danielson's model, and we use that as we do classroom visits. We're also going through advanced ed this year and using their observation model as well. So a lot of good things are going on in the classroom to provide support for our students that are struggling.
And I'm just curious, are you all involved with the RISE initiative? The reading, okay. So check that out. You might want to, and that would be the state initiative for reading for student excellence. And so it would be something you might want to check out. The co-op also has those resources as well.
Thank you.
Okay. If it's okay, if you all don't have another question, one other thing I wanted to just ask about in reviewing your goals, and I know you've updated your goals, and I like how the goals really are specific to your school, and they seem to reflect the goal have so far. When you look at, your ACT scores or your college going rate, maybe those are some things you might want to look at.
And we are. So you're saying our new principals
Already started a alumni data bank and has got that going to see how what we did helped them and what they missed, so.
Okay, because, with the tenure charter, that's a pretty long time, and to look at coming back, and I think some of the things you talked about with how involved your community is and how supportive they are, those are some measures that can really assist them into continuing to see excellence in education going on with that. So we just really want to encourage all of our charters that are coming to really focus those goals around what it is that you value and what it is that makes your charter unique.
We're kind of competitive. I mean, not against another school, but with ourselves.
That makes sense. We're always challenging ourselves to, I wish you could meet the two principals today, because we're always challenging ourselves how to do better, so. And then another thing, the one reason why the 10-year is very applicable or there's no reason to be insecure about it is because I think your charter office is just doing amazing things. They check on us all the time. Our finances are being turned in, and they call me like at the report, they give me plenty of warning for things, and they're not going to let me slip, so.
Okay, I'm ready to
So just kind of piggybacking on that, I'd like to see if anybody else has a question about the goals. So, and this is, for example, in your, where it talks about your academic performance, you do have a metric there where you say exceeding state and national averages in those different areas. And then the milestones are things like, all K-12 politically aligned, increased critical thinking. And so I think what would be helpful is, increase by how much. Obviously, in a lot of these categories, you are exceeding state averages in math and literacy, which is great. But you said that, you're against yourself, and so I think having that kind of, well, this is where we're at, this is where we want to go to, will really help, show us. And I don't know what that process looks like. I know we asked another one, but once the ESSA school index has come out to maybe revisit your goals, and I don't know that once we approve the charter, we really have a process of having them come back to say, here's what our new goals are, or we wait 10 years for it. That's good. I don't know if this.
Well, I'm a pretty proud person. You don't have to
I'll
ask.
send them to you. I like to show off what we do, so we won't be quiet. You're going to hear how we go up, because we just like to shout it out to the world. So, and then in the supplement, when we got back that things you'd like for us to tighten up, we did answer a little tighter on those where we said we'd like to go up 3% and then 5% on different things. So if you look at the things you asked for me to work on, we did put specific measurements. That was right. It's in there, percentages.
Here's just a question or comment. If we approve this, can we just have them come back in, say, 5 years or whatever? I would think that we could. And actually, I think 10 years is a long time without a check-in person.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think that it would be appropriate for us to put something like that.
Sure.
Ms. Boyd may have had some comments, and I want to look at this,
Well, and I remember looking at that, because it references a chart.
Yeah, I just looked at, I forgot to put the chart up. I'll email it to you, I'm sorry, and then I'll get it put up.
So that might help with if the chart references if they tighten up their numbers, and that would be their goals then, as far as how they're going to show growth. So that helps.
I apologize for overlooking that document. I do want to respond to what Dr. Williams said, and I spoke to my unit about this yesterday. It occurred to me that it's probably a good idea for us to encourage and remind charters, especially with the new ESSA plan coming out, that every time, a couple months prior to every time that you are hearing amendment requests, that we remind charters that would be a good time for them to amend their goals. I think once the new ESSA plan comes out, all of our charters will be in a situation where they may need to amend their goals, and so we'll be working and providing technical assistance to all charters about going through that process. Thank you.
Thanks. Panel, are there any other questions? All right. Ms. Davis, do we have any issues or questions about waivers that we need to address? I see you still have Vicki with you, so.
I did still have Vicki, so
It makes it a little slower.
Yeah, well, that and it's like an obstacle course to get up here. Did y'all, I don't know that you got the waiver sheet for, that was on the agenda, so they did ask for some new waivers, but I did not have any issues with them. I just want to make sure that you did see that they had asked for some. It wasn't. They asked for a waiver of the posting of the Arkansas and the United States flag. That was because they're under construction, so right now they have no place to put a pole. They also requested a waiver of the daily planning period, Arkansas Code 617-114. And that's because they have their rationale with an A-B schedule, so some teachers have, certain times and others have another, but how it averages out throughout the year is different. They also requested a waiver of the non-instructional activities, 617-117, and that was only through the period of their construction, so that way they could use their teachers to volunteer. They had before and after school duties to assist like with safety during the construction period. So I did not have any issues with any of those.
So in the waiver request, does that has a sunset that after construction's done? Is that the same for the flag?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So no further issues?
No.
All right. Ms. Boyd, did you want to add anything?
Just that I just sent the chart to you in an email, and I'll get it posted on the agenda before we publish it to our charter authorizing panel page. It's going to be the last few pages of that document.
Okay. You all got that email with the chart? I give the panel members just a few minutes to look at that.
Please start on page 7. seeing those is because they're the only ones that Ms. Davis had questions about, and those were their responses to her questions. If you go and look at the legal review document on the agenda, you'll see all of them in that one document.
I did have a question about the goal. I know it was referenced about going up by 3%, but just the one, there's one that says that in 4th grade, you're planning on increasing by 30% from year 1. Is there?
I think it was probably supposed to be 3%. That must be a typo.
Okay. Yeah, just that one jumped out. The way it reads, it says,
Sorry. Yeah, I think that should have been 3%.
it said increase pass rate by 30% in 4th grade and increase other grades by 3 to 5%. So,
Well, let me get my thoughts together. It was 30% because we've been working intensely because that was the 3rd grade. The 4th grade are the students that had trouble in the 3rd grade, so we've been doing more intensive things to help them catch up. So that is correct. Sorry, I had to get my head wrapped around that.
And when you say pass rate, you're referring to students scoring at ready or exceeding?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have questions based on the document with the specific goals? Okay. All right. Panel, I think that at this time, we will be ready for a nomination. I need a motion.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the renewal in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Congratulations. The panel has approved, and this segment will decide next month whether or not to review the decision.
And I hope every detail really won't be done until January of next year, but I hope when we have our grand opening, you'll all be there, because you'll be invited. We'd like for you to be part of it. Thank you.
If you'll wait just a minute, we're going to provide you with some feedback on the vote.
Okay, thank you.
provided an excellent law integrated curriculum for students. It provides a different option at a high level for both parents and students in the area.
Thank you very much, and have safe travels back home. Thank you. All right. Before we get to the next item, do you all need just a minute to help get the presentation loaded? No? Kendall, are we good to keep going? All right. So the second item on our agenda is the request for the open enrollment charter school renewal for the Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy in Bentonville. Ms. Boyd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On November 1st, 2012, the State Board of Education approved the application for Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy. The charter is approved to serve students in grades K through 12 with a maximum enrollment of 685. Representatives of Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy are appearing before the charter authorizing panel to request the renewal of the current charter. As a reminder, this request is for 10 years. And the first person you'll hear from Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy is Stephen Gass, the superintendent.
Okay, will all representatives from the Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy and anyone speaking in opposition, please stand for a CBO. Okay. If you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And Mr. Gass, welcome you to the podium. You are recognized.
Good morning. Again, my name is Stephen Gast. I am the Superintendent of Responsive Education Arkansas, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the panel in advance for your time, your consideration. I know the work that's involved in having to read through all these different applications, and we really do appreciate it. A brief background as far as educationally about myself. I'm a 15 years experience as a classroom teacher, also as a head football and a head baseball coach. I'm certified in social studies, broad field social studies, sociology, and also in special education. I hold my administrator certificate with 23 years of experience as an administrator, as well as my Texas superintendent certification. I'm currently applying for my Arkansas certification in the superintendency as well. I'd like to introduce just the members that I've brought with me from our team. I have Mr. Richard Cromwell, who is our Arkansas Board President, is with us. Ms. Christy Campbell, our Director of Academics. Mr. Curtis Shack, our Director of Programs and Operations. Ms. Marla Pearson, our Special Programs Director. Ms. Katie Stevens, our Director of Finance. Dr. Steve Burgess, our Director of Data and Research from our corporate office. Ms. Susan Provenza, our Headmaster at Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy, and then also Mr. Dennis Felton, who will be speaking with you a little bit later about our premiere. The application process is one that obviously we take very, very seriously. It is an application that has been vetted and reviewed by the Arkansas Department of Education, also by APSRC, our Responsive Education, our local staff, and independent consultants. We feel that our application is not only comprehensive, but also addresses the individual challenges and the needs of each particular campus. What I'd like to do is kind of give you just a very brief introduction of Responsive Education, since we are a charter management organization, to give you a little bit of background about the company, and then turn it over to Ms. Provenza to talk to you about this particular campus. So this is a picture of Responsive Education of our home office in Louisville. This building houses our operations, our marketing, our research, and our academics, as well as the executive administrative offices. Our curriculum department, which is involved with not only the development of curriculum, but also purchasing of curriculum, is in another location. We are in the process of celebrating this year our 20th anniversary. In April of 1998, the company was started. It was called the Eagle Educational Reform Learning System, and it was formed, like I said, 20 years ago. In that time, it's grown to be one of the largest charter school organizations in the United States. So we have over 95 campuses, 2,800 employees, and we serve 25,000 students K through 12 in both Texas and Arkansas. The way Responsive Education, the CMO, is structured, we have the charter holder, which is Responsive Education, and then there's a second branch called the Charter Management Organization. Underneath that, there are two separate strands of schools. There are the Texas College Preparatory Academies, which are standard accountability, which would be in Arkansas our ACT Aspire. And then we have the Premier High Schools, which are an alternative form of instructional delivery, and they're under an alternative accountability system in the state. Underneath them, then, we have the different brands, which are specific models of school that deal with specific types of students and specific types of needs within communities, from classical education to middle schools to high schools, Founders Classical Academies, which is what Northwestern Arkansas Classical Academy is, and then we have a foundation school of autism that's in San Antonio. We also have our virtual schools, the Texas Virtual Academy and Comprehend Academy, and then under Premier, we have all the different Premier high schools. In Arkansas, we have our responsive education in Arkansas, which includes our Premier High School, Little Rock, our Quest Middle Schools in Pine Bluff and West Little Rock, and our Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy in Bentonville, which is, of course, the school that we're addressing this morning. I wanted to include a slide that talks about responsive education's commitment to Arkansas to give you a taste and a flavor for exactly what type of commitment the large organization has for our state here in Arkansas. We've established a permanent district office, which is located here in Little Rock. They've hired an experienced superintendent. We've hired an experienced Arkansas educator and administrator as our director of academics, who not only reviewed our curriculum and works with the campuses, but also is highly involved in the professional development of all of our staff members. We opened our district office and we included in there space for professional development that would be large enough to be able to bring all of our staff together at one time, so that on those occasions where you want to train the entire group, we have a spot to do that, as well as obviously going to the different campuses to provide staff development when necessary. We have a dedicated, or we purchased the building in Bentonville, the school that Mr. Wilson visited, and we currently own that building. We have a dedicated Arkansas financial team that is here in Arkansas that deals specifically with the finances of each individual school. They work in conjunction with our finance department in Louisville, but everything is handled here in the state. It's not shipped out to another state. Also, the financial support for all of our schools, as far as the CMO investing very heavily in capital to not only guarantee that we have quality schools, but also to make sure that we are always financially sound. What I'd like to do now is turn this over to our headmaster of the school, Ms. Susan Provenza, who will give you some more information about Classical Academy.
Ms. Provenza, if you'll state your name and position for the record, you'll be recognized.
Yes, ma'am. Susan Provenza, I'm the headmaster at Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys today about our school. So as you know, we're an open enrollment public charter school in Bentonville, and our mission is to provide young people with a rigorous classical education in the liberal arts and sciences that cultivates intellectual excellence, wisdom, and virtue. And we opened in 2013, and at that time we were a K-8 campus, and we've added a grade each year, so that this year we are now K-12. We're going to graduate our first class of seniors this year. We're very excited about that. They're very excited about that. We have over 550 students, and we have 513 students currently on our waiting list. And as I said, I'm thinking about our seniors. This time of year, they're kind of getting a little antsy because they're taking their final exams, but they are so excited and so thrilled to graduate, the first graduating class. As far as our demographics go, we mimic the demographics of the Northwest Arkansas area. We've got a significant population of Asian and Middle Eastern students. We have 569 students total, with 275 males and 294 females. We pride ourselves on providing a distinctively classical education, and what that means is that our students read the great books, they study history in depth, they learn math and science, not only from the practical perspective and the computation perspective, but they also learn the beauty of it and why it matters in life. This type of education has been around for thousands of years, and it's been actually experiencing a revival of sorts lately. You might have heard the trivium, or what we like to refer to as the hierarchy of knowledge, and that simply means that we believe that students start in the grammar stage, and then they progress through the logic stage, and finally are able to engage in rhetoric at the high school level. So that solid foundation of broad academic content knowledge is what should be built on beginning in those early grades, so that the students can more successfully engage in reasoning activities. And we emphasize the Socratic method as well in the upper school especially. And so you will oftentimes see our students engaged in vigorous discussions in their classes. In addition to our strong academic program, we also focus on virtuous character building. The environment and curriculum at Northwest Arkansas Classical Academy, they're both designed to promote and build strength of character in students by promoting good habits, by teaching precepts, and then providing examples of virtue. We know that there are a lot of people out in the world who are very highly educated, who are making very poor decisions character-wise, and we want our students to leave us with the understanding that character is important to who you are and to our society. So we emphasize virtue and vice in our literature and history courses. Our administrators and teachers encourage and model habits of honesty and respect and individual responsibility and self-discipline. And then even our discipline program models this idea. We use what we call a character card system, and this is tied directly to the student motto that we recite every morning together as a K-12 campus. And it gives our students and our parents and our teachers an opportunity to talk about behavior as it relates to character. So instead of just going home and saying, Mom, today I was on orange, they can go home and say, Mom, today I had an issue with respect. And it opens up that opportunity to talk about what is respect, how does that work, and why is it important. Our motto for our school is res peccae, odds peccae, pros peccae, and that is Latin for by studying the past and analyzing the present, our students are going to be ready to contribute to the future. We have several distinctives at our academy, and some of the ones that I'd like to highlight. We have a knowledge-rich curriculum that we focus on. We like to teach reading and spelling through an explicit phonics program. You know, children learn language first by talking, and so they learn the sounds of that. And so by teaching them that there are symbols that relate to those sounds, and that is how English works, we end up with students who read very well and then learn to spell very well as a result. We teach formal logic in the 8th grade, and then we also have a rhetoric course in our high school. We teach history and science every single day, beginning in kindergarten. One thing that I'm very proud of is our seniors write and defend a senior thesis each year, and they're kind of in the throes of that right now. But they choose a topic that is of interest to them and that ties to what they have learned in school so far, and they have an academic advisor. And they literally write and publicly defend a thesis on that. And then we also began teaching formal Latin for high school credit in the 7th grade, and all of our students receive 2 years of Latin. One thing that is also a distinctive for our academy is the recitations. Our students, even at an early age, begin memorizing and reciting poetry, famous speeches, things that are important to what they're learning in their classes. This right here is some of our students reciting the pledge in Latin. They learned it in Latin, and they enjoy being able to recite it, not only for their class, but they do that for our morning assembly as well. What this does is it helps students be comfortable speaking in public. It helps them understand that it is important what you know, but it is also really important that you can communicate well what you know. And so it gets them a little more comfortable with public speaking. As far as our awards and recognition go, we have been an achieving school every year since opening. We are an advanced ed accredited school as well. We achieved that in 2016. Our test scores are always very good. Last year we were the #3 district in the state for our ACT Aspire scores, which was really exciting for us. The Office for Educational Policy at the University of Arkansas has also recognized us several years in a row. Their most recent data is from the 2015-16 school year. And our overall rating from them was #9 in the state, #4 in the Northwest Arkansas region. We also had recognition for math, ELA, and science that year. Our PSAT results were also really exciting. The very first year that we had 10th graders, our students, 72% of them met both benchmarks, as compared to 45% in the state and 47% nationally. The second year that we had sophomores, it took a little bit of a dip, but it took a dip statewide and nationally as well. So we were at 67% that year. But then this current year with our current sophomores, we were at 86% for our students, meeting both benchmarks for ELA and math and science, as compared to the state at 31 and the nation at 38. Those kiddos were pretty excited about that, very proud of themselves. In addition to being academic and focused on academics, we also want our students to be well-rounded. And so we promote in school involvement through clubs, activities, sports. We have a lot of events going on at school. Music is a big deal at our school. We have 4 different orchestras, 2 different choirs. We have a junior high student council, like high school student council, a theater club that performs a couple of plays each year. They're working on the importance of being earnest right now to perform in the spring. We have a volleyball team. We have a tennis team. We're very proud of our girls doubles team. The first year that they competed, which was 16-17, they took 3rd place, and then this past year they took 2nd place, which was really exciting. We have a golf team, boys and girls basketball teams. We also have a Spartan Bowl flag football game that our kids participate in each year, which is just an inaugural thing, very fun for them. We have a Spartan Spirit Squad cross-country team that also did very well this year. Robotics, chess club, we have a newspaper staff, and then we also have students that participate in Young Marines. We like to be involved in our community as well, so we're often at the First Friday events in downtown Bentonville, kind of getting the word out about our school. We also participate each year at the Northwest Arkansas School Choice Fair, which is in Springdale. And then we even have students who volunteer around the area as well. As far as the future ahead goes for us, like I said, we're going to have our first graduating class this year. Our goal is to have 100% college acceptance. We're about halfway there right now. Half of our seniors have already received their acceptance letters from the colleges that they choose to attend. And then we recently partnered with the VHS Ignite program, the Bentonville High School Ignite program. They have a video production group, and they came to our campus and helped us create a promotional video for our front lobby. Yes, ma'am, if you would mind pressing play on that. It should be. Here you go. I appreciate any time. You want to go on with your presentation? Absolutely, that is just fine. If you guys get an opportunity to watch it, it's really great. It was a fun project to do. Is this in the presentation? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Typically, when it's running a slideshow, there will be a little play button at the bottom, and you should be able to press play, and it should go just fine. So, but anyway, we had a good time with this, and the students that came over for VHS were really helpful. We enjoyed being able to do that. So at this point, I would like to turn it back over to Mr. Gast.
Thank you. As you can tell, it's an outstanding school, a school we're very, very proud of, and a lot of really, really great things are happening there. Just to summarize, before we go ahead and go into the questions, we're requesting a 10-year renewal. We're requesting an amendment to expand our enrollment up to 1,200 students. We're requesting no additional waivers and rescinding or deleting any of those waivers that through the application process was deemed are no longer applicable through the state education code. So that concludes our presentation, our formal presentation, and now we are more than willing and interested in addressing any clarification or any questions that you might have.
Ms. Boyd, is there anyone here to speak in opposition?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if if you have anything else you want to add, you've got a little bit of additional time. If not, we'll go ahead and proceed with questions.
No, I think we're ready for the questions. I would like to add that our board president, who is here today, also has students, has children in that particular school. And so he has been a very supportive individual, as has the state individuals. And I would like to just spend a second thanking the staff at APSRC as well as ADE for all of their help in reviewing these applications, providing us with comments, information, things that we can do to improve, and things that we can help us make the application as clear as we possibly can, so that you can get a real accurate picture of the schools that we're bringing in front of you. So,
thank you. I'll go ahead and start on this side. Dr. Davis, do you have any questions?
I do. So the amendment request to increase the cap to 1,200 students. Yes. Right now we have a cap of 685 with a current enrollment of about 500, more than 500 students. So I also heard it mentioned there was a 510 student wait list. So I guess my question is, the wait list part, why is there a wait list if you're capped at 685? Is it a room thing? And if so, moving to that 1,200 cap, what's the plan for growth?
Right. Great question. And it's not a room thing as much as it is a concentration of what grade levels we have that wait list in. And so with the cap being at 685, we have to be very careful that if it stays there, those lower grades are what ultimately are going to change the enrollment in the upper grades later on down the road. And so with the cap at 685, with us not adding any students whatsoever, in a process of between 2 and 3 years, we'll already have hit that cap without adding anyone, therefore not being able to address the waiting list issue that we currently have. Our goal with the increase in enrollment is to be very responsible as far as how we go ahead and advance those grades to start getting those lower grade kids into the school at the elementary level, and then naturally that enrollment grows each year as that group of kids moves forward. And so our plan is to go over an extended period of time, not to just all of a sudden, we don't have space, nor do we have the availability to just all of a sudden add 500 kids into that school. But we have the availability to gradually move them in the right direction, but the enrollment cap will allow us then to not have to come in a year in front of the panel for another amendment to add enrollment, to increase enrollment. So right now we have room. We were just more concerned about wanting to make sure that we had an eye on the future as well as far as the growth is concerned, so that we can support those kids as they get into the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. Mr. Frenz, anything you want to add to that? No. Okay.
So to follow up with that line of questioning, it seems then that your largest numbers are in 3rd through 6th grade currently.
Actually, K through 6, the lower grades, we have yeah.
True.
Right.
Just in that, you go from 46 in 2nd grade to 69 in 3rd grade.
That's correct.
So it is a little larger there. But so when you talk about, you have this space then for 1,200 currently, is that what you're saying? You have this space and you're going to be able then with the 1,200 to go ahead and really working to get the larger enrollment in those early grades and still be able to support them as they go all the way through. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes, no, and yes. That's kind of the way that works. Yeah, the building itself right now, for our first round of expansion, we have 4 classrooms that are currently already available. If you look at, I provided a schematic or a blueprint of the facility. We have a great deal of area in the building that is currently not built out that we can actually add classrooms to. Our long-range plan for Bentonville is not to continually and still remain in that particular building. Our goal is, as we continue now to increase the enrollment, and one of the reasons for the 10-year advancement is, or 10-year renewal, is a building plan that would eventually allow us to build a campus there in Bentonville that would house the lower grades, middle grades, and the upper grades on one central campus location. This particular building is probably going to be fine for us to house up to 800, maybe 900 students, but our long-range goal is to have a permanent facility built there that mirrors some of our other classical academies in the state of Texas that have everything. It's almost like a miniature college campus.
Do you have additional questions? Ms. Wilson, no questions? Dr. Williams?
Currently, what's your senior class? You know, they're graduating now. How many do you have?
We have 10 lovely seniors that will be graduating this year.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what it looks like. Thank you. My other question was about the increase in enrollment, but Dr. Hernandez, that's that.
I guess I'm still a little bit confused on the enrollment. So do you think that the 1,200 students that you're expanding to over a 10-year period, because you're asking for a 10-year renewal, so is that what you're telling me or not? I'm not sure I understand that.
And I think what we're basically doing, Ms. Turner, is stating that we're going to grow in a responsible fashion. We are not going to put more people in a building that it can either hold or that's safe to do. We wanted to have flexibility in the process because we do plan on building down the road. That model of school is really never structured or built to get any larger than 1,000 to 1,200. It's just not built to do that, and we have no intentions. One of the things we pride ourselves on is the schools that have a certain size because of the benefits of that size of school. So instead of, again, coming on a regular basis saying, hey, we need another 100 kids or we need another 200, we thought we would go towards the absolute top. Whether we actually ever achieve or work towards that, we're less concerned about the overall number and more concerned about the quality that we're going to provide for those kids that we put in the building. Okay.
So I think we've asked most of the others, and so I'll go ahead and also just take a minute just for you all to talk about the goals that you've established, the new goals. And so along the same lines as with the others, when you're talking about your goals for student success in math and in science and literacy, in your application you have so you all do go into performing at or above the 70th percentile. Okay, so you want to talk a little bit about how you established those goals?
Sure. So we took a look at the data that we already have based on ACT Aspire scores, based on the MAP testing that we do each year, and determined that we felt like that was a realistic number for us to look at in terms of improving and for students to be at that proficient area.
And I also noticed you do include your college acceptance in your setting some ambitious goals there in terms of the college acceptance and in reviewing your data. You do have high performance in your third grade. You've got, I believe, the last year was 73.4%. At ready or exceeding levels there. So can you talk a little bit about what you have going on in K2 that's kind of jump-starting those kiddos to be successful at that early start?
You bet. Absolutely. I actually really love bragging on our K2, so stop me if I get boring, but yeah, right, just kind of nudge me a little bit. But I think one of the things that I can attribute that success to in terms of the reading is that explicit phonics program that I talked about. I would venture to say, and I could go through and count, but the majority of our kindergartners are reading when they leave kindergarten. And so they are, and some of them are reading on the third grade level when they leave kindergarten. And so by teaching students to read very well and being very explicit about how the English language works, I think that has really helped our third grade teachers because they come to them with a really great foundation already. Ditto for math. We use a Singapore math program that really focuses on how math works, why it's important. Let's really learn how to do good math. And so just by building that great foundation at that K1 and 2 level, I think that speaks to the results in third grade.
Okay, I think that was my last question. You want any other?
Just a minor one. You appeared it twice, the phonics, no whole language involved in that program in any way, or is just strictly the phonics aspect?
Yes and no. So in terms of learning to read, we are very focused on the explicit phonics program, which teaches a think to spell type of way of learning, so that when students are faced with a word that they've never ever seen before, if they know the rules of the way the English language works, they can figure out what that word is and how it sounds. And so in terms of that kind of reading, yes. We also have a literature course, though, starting in kindergarten, so they're hearing good stories, they're hearing good reading, and then throughout that explicit phonics program, it also touches on grammar. So our kindergartners are learning what is a noun, what is a verb. So there, it's all in there. Yes and no.
All right, Dr. Hernandez.
I just, wanted, I know we didn't get to see the video, I just wanted to comment that I thought it was pretty neat that you got Bentonville School District, who, a lot of people feel like this is a competition, and that they're coming into your school and providing a service to help promote your program. I just want to make sure that was lost on the folks, that's a pretty unique relationship, and I just wanted to point that out.
I appreciate that, and one of the goals that we have coming in as far as developing our district office and those types of things is, as I told you, I'm 35 years in the public schools, and had always, the charter school, the whole idea there was, they were the other side, as you indicated. And as I've been now 3 years with responsive education and learned the major benefits that a charter school can offer to a community, we're actually now starting to try and reach out to the school districts that are in the campuses that we serve, because we do believe that partnerships are important. I believe that, they're our kids and they're the kids of Bentonville too, and we can benefit from the stuff that goes on at those schools, and they certainly can benefit from the things that we as a charter school have to offer if we just start talking to each other. And if we would just start realizing that we're not in competition with each other, we're teaching the same kids. And they're what it's all about. And so we're real excited about the team that we've put together, because all of us have that same vision, that what we want to do is we want to work with and be partners with the local school district, not necessarily their competition, because if everyone is in it for the right goal, they're in it to benefit those particular students, and it shouldn't matter what school it goes to. It should matter that we're servicing them and giving them in the community what they need. So I agree. Thank you for the comment.
Just coming along those lines, being in Northwest Arkansas and watching the changes over the years, as different companies come in and bring in people from all over the world, having different options for education becomes important. This is really interesting. First we had the Arkansas Arts Academy, and now we have Classical Academy. And I never thought of it this way, but they're both a great fit for Northwest Arkansas. I mean, there is a clientele for students. There's another school coming online, Dayton School is coming online in a private school in Northwest Arkansas. There's Providence Academy in Northwest Arkansas. And my kids attend Harbor High in Springdale Public Elementary School. The options up there are it's amazing. And it's a great fit if you're going to have a vibrant economic community where you bring in people from other parts of the world, and they're going to have different expectations of what education should look like. So this is, I just think that Classical Academy is a great fit for that. I love the Latin piece of all of this too.
If I would have went there, I probably would have been a much better speller. But I also want to share with you one of the things that we have put together, and I can provide you down the road with a copy of this. It's a 10-year vision that we have put together for Arkansas, because just as the comments you made about Bentonville, providing the opportunities for different types of schools for those kids, there's a lot of cities in Arkansas that the communities would love to have, the parents in the community would love to have those options as well. And so, we try to look at not just what we're currently doing, but also what types of schools and what brands will be very beneficial for other areas of Arkansas as we, again, responsibly look at growing and going into other communities with a school that would fit the needs of that particular group.
All right, thank you. Ms. Boyd, I noticed they are not seeking any, or Ms. Davis, I guess, they're not seeking any new waivers, and it does look like there's one being rescinded in the legal.
Yeah, that's a cleanup. Ms. Davis had to step out, but she wanted me to let you all know that she didn't have any remaining concerns.
Well, if that's the case, then at this time, I will accept a motion on this request.
Move the approval of the request. Second.
So I have a motion to approve the request for renewal and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, your renewal request is approved, and it will be on the state board agenda for consideration if the state board wishes to review the panel's decision. But congratulations, and we look forward to seeing your continued work and growth in that area. And if you'll wait just a minute, we will have feedback for you from each of the members. While they're finishing up, Mr. Gass, I wanted to tell you thank you for your team that you brought with you today. It's obvious that you've got a lot of people who are very excited and committed to the program. So I know it's a long trip, so thank you to all of you who came as well. And it looks like we're about finished here, so Dr. Hernandez, will you provide your feedback?
Just, I'd like to forward a motion, Northwest Classical Academy is proving to be a great option for the students and parents of Northwest Arkansas. They're also striving to be great partners with other educational providers in the area.
Ms. Turner?
I voted for the motion. The school provides great opportunities and a high-quality education for a select group of students.
Dr. Williams?
I voted for the motion. The school provides an option for parents and students built around the classics while providing an excellent education.
Mr. Wilson?
I voted for the motion, partly as a result of my visit there on the senior inspection, which I very much enjoyed, and because of the school's proven record in that community and sport.
Thank you again, and we will see you in the future.
In fact, just in a few minutes.
At this time, we'll go ahead and take a break until about 10 o'clock and come back and hear our final request. All right, welcome back, everyone. Make sure we've got all of our group back together. Have our grand finale for today. For the year. Okay, so we are going to get started with item number 3 on our agenda, which is the request for the open enrollment public charter school renewal for Premier High School of Little Rock. And Ms. Boyd, you're recognized.
Thank you. On November 1st, 2012, the State Board of Education approved the application for Premier High School of Little Rock. The charter is approved to serve students in grades 9 through 12 with a maximum enrollment of 240. Representatives of Premier High School are appearing before the charter authorizing panel to request a renewal of the current charter. The request is for 5 years, and the first person you'll be hearing from will be Stephen Gass, who is the superintendent.
Will all representatives from Premier High School of Little Rock and anyone speaking in opposition please stand to the CPO. Okay, if you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you. And Mr. Gass, you are recognized.
Thank you. If you'll recall back at the first presentation that we just completed, I showed you a slide dealing with the different schools that we have within our system, and Premier High School is one such school, and it is quite different from other schools that you're probably used to hearing about. So what I'd like you to do for just a second is to imagine a high school where the average enrollment is around 100 students, but over 200 different kids come through the doors in a regular school year. Imagine a school where a high percentage of the students in attendance have either dropped out of a local high school or fallen so far behind in their credits that they see no hope in their local public school of ever catching up and graduating. Imagine a school where the majority of the students enter the school 2 to 3 years behind academically or in earned credits. A school where most of the students have never been involved in a club, a sport, or a school-sponsored organization. A school where many of the students come to school in the morning and raise their own children in the afternoon. A school where many of the students will be the first to graduate from a high school in their entire family. A school for the first time students will feel welcome, challenged, and in control of their own learning. Also a school that provides hope that each student really can have a future and that there really is an avenue to college or post-secondary training regardless of their past educational experiences. A school that picks up students, builds them up, and sends them back on track to their local school or provides them with an actual avenue to graduate from high school. Imagine a school that you have a staff that will go to homes and areas most will not venture into to find those students, pick them up, and bring them back to campus. Imagine a school where the average student has a set of issues and problems that in most cases would overwhelm the average kid. A school where the student is not judged by the neighborhood they come from, their socioeconomic status, the car their parents drive, or the clothes they wear, but the fact that they have a second or third chance to work with adults whose only mission is to help these kids experience success and to be given a fighting chance in life and for a future. There are not many schools that exist like that. One school that does is Premier High School. And what I'd like to do is introduce to you the director of that campus, Mr. Dennis Felton, who will go through a slide presentation of a very unique and a school that provides a tremendous service to a certain group and a population of kids that really are underserved in Arkansas. Mr. Felton.
Thank you, Mr. Gass. Good morning. I'm Dennis Felton. I serve as the principal of Premier High School of Little Rock. I want to help piggyback off Mr. Gass and just to help paint a picture of Premier High School and the students that we serve. And so, over the past 4 years, 20% of the students that graduate from Premier High School were already teen parents. 71.5% of the freshman class of 2017 are actually in their second year of ninth grade, which means that only 28% of our freshman class this year are true freshmen. 30% of the students that graduated Premier High School the last 4 years were actually dropout recovery, which means that these students were not enrolled in school previously before enrolling to Premier High School. 18% of Premier High School students take public transportation to school, rain, sleet, snow. And 77% of the population is homeless. The ironic thing about this slide is when most students come to Premier, it's their second chance, or last hope, or last chance. And irony, Premier stands for first. So one of the things we want to do is we want to attack the disengaged student. Every year, 7,000 students each day are dropping out of high school. In the state of Arkansas alone, over 5,100 students dropped out of high school. And next to pursuing a GED, it was the lack of interest. So one of the things we want to do is we want to take the disengaged student and get them back reinvested in the education process. And we want to basically instill hope and put a plan together to ensure they get their high school diploma. In the city of Little Rock, there are several students that are walking around just 2-3 credits away from graduating. And so what we want to do is we want to reach out to those students, get them back engaged in the education process to pursue their high school diploma. So give you a little history on Premier High School Little Rock. It started 4 years ago with a collaboration between Arkansas Baptist College and Responsive Education Solutions. One of the unique things about this high school is actually on a college campus, and so a lot of students can start high school with the end in mind. So one of the things Premier High School focuses on is provide students hope. We want to give students in the community of Little Rock hope through an innovative and encouraging learning environment. Our staff members go above and beyond to ensure that we're doing everything we can to meet the needs of our students. Just look at a snapshot. We're small by design, we have 110 students. That's actually a change with 7% poverty right now. Almost 90% African American population. 70% of our students are over age. The average ninth grader that comes into our building is actually 16 years old. The average senior is almost 19 years old. 85% of the students on campus are at risk. So we're talking about students that are currently failing in their current school. We're talking about students that are dropped due to lack of attendance, students that are in the juvenile justice system, students that have been retained. One of the things we like to brag about is our staff retention. Each year, our staff nutrition is getting better. So, as well as our staff retention, our student retention is getting better. And so we know the longer we have students, the more we can do with them. The average tenure of Premier High School graduates is 1.5 years, which means that we don't have students long. And the time we have, like Mr. Gass said, we want to spend time meeting where they're at, building them up, and whether that's graduating or sending them back to the high school. So one of the challenges we identified when you focus on the dropout recovery population is graduation rate. We have a lot of students that are in their 4th year, 5th year, 6th year cohort that we're getting back on track. Also, student attendance. A lot of students come out of school because they battle with chronic absenteeism. They've been dropped from the local school district because of attendance. And then ultimately the highly mobile population. We have students that come out of school for various reasons. Some students come over to small interventions to get back on track. We have some students that come over to small environment. We have some students that take advantage of our credit recovery option. And so since it's highly mobile, we have to communicate that the average graduate spends a year and a half at our school. And so talking about that personalized learning environment, one of the things we want to do is when a student steps in the door, they're treated almost like a college freshman. They have an academic advisor that sits down and works through a graduation projection plan in which we identify what the student needs to graduate. We support the curriculum also with our character education because we know in order for students to be successful outside of high school, they have to have a character piece. As we sit down with business owners in Little Rock and local college representatives, a lot of students in the workplace right now are just missing the soft skills. So we spend time bringing in guest speakers, hosting school-wide assemblies, and each month we have a character virtue that we focus on school-wide. And so some of the things we like to brag about as well as our academic partnerships. We want to ensure that we can serve every student, no matter if it's a student coming to our school that's behind or a student that's trying to get ahead. So we have partnerships with Arkansas School of Math and Science, Arkansas Tech University, Arkansas Baptist College, and also Virgil Arkansas, just to offer students more courses and more curricular options. So one of the things we found out, a lot of students coming out of school because the traditional instruction strategies are not working. So we attack our students at different instructional strategies where students are doing digital learning. We have some students that are doing face-to-face direct instruction. We have some students involved in project-based learning, doing science labs and things like that as well. So another thing we figured out is we have to have high quality professional development for our teachers. We have teachers that are coming in and we can send them to regional training. We have relationships with co-ops. We send teachers to the co-ops. We send teachers to state trainings, as well as we spend a lot of time focusing on our leadership training as well, and constantly revisiting our professional development to ensure that we're helping teachers help students. So some of the powerful practices that we like to brag on as well is our one-to-one interaction with students, the individualized learning plan for each student, the continuous feedback, giving students the ownership of their learning, increasing their student engagement, and integrating with emerging technology. We have a one-to-one technology ratio on our campus, so students have access to the latest technology where they can conduct not only do projects and research, but they can access the digital courses as well. And we also utilize EWA math assessments, ACT is far into the summer assessments, the ACT is as well as our local assessments. And we like to use those assessments to identify students who need intervention, to monitor student progress, to identify students that are college and career ready, to identify the professional development needs of the campus. So as we continue to grow as an academic institution, one of the unique things this year, we had the opportunity to participate in the PLC pilot project. The PLC pilot project has offered us embedded coaching in the instructional side and the administration side. We've conducted self-assessments, identifying what are those school-wide deficiencies that we're struggling with. We have experts that are coming in working with our administration, with our teachers, and working and looking at the data to identify what are the things that our teachers and the staff need to be working on as a school. And the cool thing about it is we're going from work out of isolation and to collaboration. We're getting data-driven. We're guiding to the data, and that data is driving the actions that we're making. So we're getting goal-oriented and action-oriented as well. So one of the things that we found out as well is in order to keep our students invested, we have to offer extracurricular activities. And so we want to connect students and give them opportunities they would know what they actually wouldn't have if they didn't go to Premier High School. And so even research indicates that the participation in extracurricular activities may increase student sense of engagement and attachment to their school, and therefore decrease the likelihood of school failure. And also indicators of successful completion of school impact student achievement, attendance, and aspirations beyond high school. So one of the things we try to do is get parents involved in our school as well. So we want to offer parents opportunities to volunteer. We want to increase our parent communication. We want parents sitting down at the table, talking about these school decisions, talking about looking at this data, and making sure that we're all stakeholders on the same page. We want to have a college night. We want to not educate the students and not just take them to college. We want to invite colleges in. We invite parents and students each year to come to our college and career fair. We invite counselors and college representatives to sit down and complete these college applications for these students to help them fast. For a lot of our students, we first generation college graduates, so their parents are learning at the same time as they're learning. We have students that attend the transitions fair. What are services in the community? What are programs and agencies that can help our students when they graduate? We want to take students there. A lot of our students, they live right in Little Rock, Arkansas. Students that have never been on the campus of the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. Students that have never been on the campus of the University of Central Arkansas. Students that have never been on the campus of the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. We take those students to the campus that way they can see what it looks like. They can see the hope. They can feel what it feels like to be a college student. We invite different people from the community out as well to our school. We try to have student life to get students involved. Because you come to Premier High School, Little Rock doesn't mean you have to sacrifice things that are going on in traditional school. And so it goes back to us helping with our student retention and engaging students and keeping them invested in what they're doing. The cool thing about a lot of these clubs is actually student-driven. We have staff and parents and community members who actually volunteer to make these organizations happen. And so cool things like the service club that goes out to community that teaches students skills well beyond academics about how they can invest in the local community and give back. Another unique thing, we incorporated athletics in our program. And so we've been lucky enough also to see some success. And so our track team this past spring was the state runner-up in the AACS. and as well as we had a second place in conference championship in our basketball team last year. And so we started talking about student attendance, investment, and engagement. This helps big time. We had a science club that's collaborated with Lisa Academy, a local charter school as well, in which they participated in the STEM festival. So we were able to showcase student skills. That's the cool thing about it. We have to tap into those talents that may not otherwise be seen in the classroom. So one of the things culture-wise, we want to embrace students. A lot of these students may have not ever been recognized for anything. They may have never received an award. So we want to celebrate the small wins at Premier High School of Little Rock. So we want to have honors assemblies and school choice week assemblies. Once again, students going out to read to the local elementary school. So we want to be a change in agent in our community. This is Dr. Martin Luther King Junior Elementary School, which is probably about half a mile from our school. We invite different artists in and business members as well, leaders in the community. That way, they can talk to our students, expose them to different opportunities as well. We want to get students invested in service learning projects as well, so that they understand the importance of giving back to their local community. One of the things we've been noticed in the media as well is our personalized learning environment. And so we had a magazine feature in which this lady magazine is kind of focused on the innovative and personalized learning environment that we had to offer. A unique story, we had a student that came to us and actually graduated early. This student's a high intelligence student and actually started going to school on the campus of Arkansas Baptist College. First semester took 15 hours, makes the daily list. We're created by the Arkansas Department of Ed as well as Advanced Ed Accreditation. We've had staff members being recognized for the great work they're doing. So this is one of our teachers is recognized by Little Rock Family Magazine for the Best Educator Award. I like to brag that I'm blessed to be working with a great group of people. We have people that take the sacrifices, make the sacrifice, and take the time out to do necessary things to make it happen for the kids. And at the end of the day, the most thing we like to brag the most about is beginning with the end in mind and graduation. It's priceless. Every May, to see our auditorium and our gymnasium filled up with parents, community members, and students who thought this day would never happen. It's priceless. And so each May is one of the best events that we have all year. The ratio for a student to guest is usually 1 to 30. And so that is evident that how important this day is for our students and their families. And so one of the unique things as well, athletics opens up other doors. Athletic programs are offering more accessibility to post-secondary institutions. So we had 3 individuals who actually signed to play basketball at a local college. And so we go all the way back to talk about students who may not even have an opportunity to play basketball, and the students have an opportunity to play college basketball. So in the last 4 years, we've graduated 68 students, and 70% of those students are actually in post-secondary education, military training, or in some kind of post-secondary training institution. But we don't want to stop there. We want to get better at what we're doing after high school. So we create a alumni organization in which we take our students that have graduated, bring them back to the school to mentor the other students. We want them to see that hope. If they see students that graduated from Premier High School in college, being successful, playing college basketball, that brings and gives them the right to be autonomous as well. We want to create a network. We're going to talk about students whose family members can't advise them on college, whose family members don't have a lot of experience in college. And so if we create a network of students, and I think about Philander School College, we have a network of 6 students right now. And creating that network of students support each other. And so we also had a message from the governor that's in our class 2017, which raised over $500,000 scholarship.
Congratulations to the 2016 graduating class of Premier High School of Little Rock. Graduates, it is my honor to commend you for your achievements and to encourage you as you continue your pursuit of education and career path. I challenge you to seek opportunity even in unexpected places to prevent setbacks from We thank the governor for that. So what have we learned? We've learned the importance of academic intervention as well as behavior intervention. Working as a professional learning community versus working in isolation. Let's make data-driven decisions and have data-driven instruction. Let's attack the dropout intervention. Let's attack the attendance intervention. Let's provide dropout intervention and address the attendance by providing intervention. Let's invest in human capital and continue to build relationships and partnerships with our community, as well as include parents in our decision making, as well as community leaders, and providing our staff with high quality professional development. 2017 school year Premier High School was also recognized by Arkansas Charter School Office as a best practice identified in Arkansas charters. You may have to press play on that.
Okay. I'm having a hard time going to the next slide. So, Megan Gonzalez is a one-time student who comes from Premier High School, Little Rock. Megan came to Premier. She was frustrated in a local ISD school. She wanted to go to a school that was small and offer a smaller environment. And so she took advantage of our Premier Prep program. She's kind of one of the reasons why we created it, because we want to ensure that we're attacking individual needs. And so Megan had opportunity to not only participate in concurrent credit and AP courses, and graduated going to TCU with a full scholarship, as well as also being able to take 15 college hours with her as well. And so Calvin Ross is one of the students I talked about earlier who were struggling, got behind, came back to our school, took advantage of the personalized learning model, actually graduated on time, and ended up attending Arkansas Baptist College and earning 30 credit hours the next year. Ray is one of our students in the Alumni Association. So Ray, when I went to Premier High School in Little Rock, went to school at Arkansas Baptist College, he comes back, doing his downtime in classes to mentor and assist, and he's kind of an office aide, teaching how to work that copier. And so taking advantage of those opportunities.
At this point, is there anybody to speak in opposition? Okay. You can have an additional 5 minutes if you want to finish up anything here, if there's anybody else that you would like to have.
I just want to point out the fact that, you know, we serve a Little Rock community as well, and a lot of our students that come to us are not currently enrolled in school. And so we know we're up against a strong task, but we're up for the challenge, and we continue to own up to what's going on. But at the same time, we're always believing in continuous improvement. We're always looking at what we're doing and how we can do it better, and continue to build relationships with individuals to help us support our goals as well. When you look at even the crime statistics across the nation, 75% of the crime that's done is done by dropout students. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is keep students off the streets of Little Rock and put them in classroom seats. And ultimately, as Chief Buckner said at our community luncheon this past summer, you're helping me. Because if you're working with students and keeping these students off the streets of Little Rock, then that's less work my men have to do during the day as well.
Thank you, Dennis. And I just want to piggyback off this last statement. You know, we have a great partnership with the Little Rock Police Department as well. They are a presence on our campus, not only just for I don't want to say enforcement, but at the same time, just the presence itself. As we know, resource officers are a major benefit to campuses and to schools, and we have a great partnership with them as well. I'm sure you can tell from listening to the individual people that one of the things that I'm really blessed with is the fact that I have people that have tremendous passion around me and around our kids, and I think that's very, very important. We are realistic. We do understand that if you look at proficiency on the ACT Aspire, you're not going to see Premier High School being near up at the top, nor are you going to see them even with really, really good scores. Now, at the same time, we have a very, a small sample population where if we had 1, 2, or 3 students that passed a particular section, we could come to you at a 30 or 40% rate. And so we wanted to show you that there is so much more to the picture of what we're doing with these kids. That doesn't mean we ignore it. And it doesn't mean that we, that there's a fine line in education between spinning data and the gray areas and the things that are out there. The gray area with Premier High School really is in the type of students that we service, and the fact that right now we have almost 70 students who have a chance at a future because they do have a high school diploma. These are students who have traditionally never been successful on assessments, and I don't want to say they don't take them seriously, but the units that they take, the individualized, personalized learning that we provide these students, that is a means towards something. It's a means to their diploma. They take it extremely seriously. Other assessments that don't necessarily do that aren't always as important to those students. It's our job to create that and to make that, and we continue to work that way, and we continue to address those things. So I don't want the panel to think that in any way, shape, or form that we're saying that it's okay that we don't see a lot of proficiency in some areas or no proficiency in some areas with our particular students. That's the reason why we continue to work hard. It's the reason why we have our PLC project. It's why we were selected to work with our particular staff. A couple months ago, we met with Ms. Turner and her staff. And one of the questions we asked is, what are some things that we can do in working with your organization to try and improve the program at Premier High School, at all our schools actually, but at Premier High School specifically, so that we can provide some training for those students that aren't going to be college bound, but do have a diploma and do want to go further, they just don't know where to go. And so we're in a partnership right now, working very diligently with that, with the department in the area of CTE to start looking at other avenues that we might be able to do to continue to serve our particular students. We are extremely proud of Premier. We're extremely proud to be able to stand up in front of you. I've got a whole lot of parents out there who are extremely happy with the fact that their child, who they were afraid was going to drop out of school and not have a place to go, now there's a future. And the neat thing about that, and I'll end with this, it's so important to understand that generally in a family, especially the families that we serve, there's not generally just one student who's had difficulty or has struggled. There's other students as well. If those students can start seeing their brothers and sisters experiencing some success and graduating from high school, it's the light and the hope that we can present to those younger kids as well, that when they get up to high school age, that there is a place like Premier that can truly benefit them. So we are proud of it. We are not blind to the challenges that we face, but these kids are worth it. And this population is worth it. And if we don't serve them, nobody will. And we're going to continue to serve them. So thank you so much for having the opportunity to present Premier. Dennis, thank you. You do a tremendous job, as does Susan. And it's individuals that have the passion in their eye like Dennis that make all the difference as far as our schools are concerned. So thank you, and we'll address any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Okay, I will begin with Dr. Williams with questions.
Yes. I think you all are doing some good work there. First one comment, I like the idea that they're applying for a 5-year renewal and not longer, and so we get the update. What do you get? How do students come to Premier?
You want to address recruitment? Thanks.
My quick answer, I like to think word of mouth. Now, we like to think that through the collaboration, we go to these local schools, Little Rock Central, Little Rock Hall, other charter schools. We go out and speak to those counselors, those administrators, because a lot of times they know the students before we know them. I can get out here, and I go door to door. There are hot summers, but a lot of times it's referral. And so a student will be sitting there with a counselor kind of notices a student at risk, attendance is falling, grades are falling, and we try to build those relationships, and that way students can be referred versus they're dropping out and then we're finding them. But we do actively recruit in the Little Rock area and different communities and local schools as well.
Your dropout recovery, if students don't have Premier as an option, just based on the students you all have attending, what would usually happen to those students?
As far as you're saying a student dropped out of school and they didn't enroll?
Let me rephrase.
Okay.
What other options do students that are currently attending Premier have educationally?
Well, we're open enrollment. A lot of students they have been expelled. Some students have been expelled from their traditional school, and so they'll come over. For instance, we'll have a student, say they've expelled until the remainder of this year, they'll come over to our school and they'll finish the year out. We'll have some students also that have been dropped due to lack of attendance, and so they've missed 10 consecutive school days. That previous LEA has dropped that student, and so we're trying to get them back reinvested.
And one of the things that, we talk about the challenge of mobility. One of the other options for our students that go to Premier is they can get caught up credit-wise and actually go back to their home campus and graduate with the class that they started with. And that's a big deal for some of them. So, there are several students that we get that come in that might be 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 credits behind. They stay with us for a year and a half. They get to where they need to be. They go back to Central or they go back to their local school to be back with their class and to graduate. And we're okay with that. I mean, our goal is to get the student graduated. We'd love for them to be able to graduate with us. But on the other side of that coin, and also when you look at our proficiency scores, some of those students that we get caught up that would probably do well on that particular test aren't at Premier when that test is administered. They're back at their other campus because we've got them caught up and got them going. So that's another avenue for them as well.
Thank you for your presentation. A couple of questions. What was the percentage of students who were parents that come to you? I missed that in the beginning of your presentation.
20%.
20%. So can you tell me what additional services you have to provide those students to help them be successful at your school?
Most of them don't have transportation, and so we have a partnership with Central Arkansas Transit System in which we provide those students with bus passes. And the cool thing about it, that bus pass doesn't just get that student to school, but so that bus pass gets that student to work as well, and maybe medical appointments. The flexibility in the school day, some of those students take advantage of that, and so they're able to go to school in the daytime, find a babysitter or a daycare or childcare, and then in the afternoon. We had a partnership with a local nonprofit as well. They come in once a month and work with our teen parents, and they do all types of child development training and as well as small projects for their families.
Okay. one thing, and we have had a conversation, and I appreciate that very much, and from Department of Career Ed, we probably need to look at what else we can do. We also have parenting and child development classes, and so at some point, that might be something else you want to look at there. Where are you on, because in your application, you mentioned that you've talked to us about the JAG program. Can you give me an update on that and where you are in that process?
We're working on the application. The original individual I kind of had is going to lead the program. We've had a change of personnel, and so I've met with my new personnel, talked about it and everything, but we're still in support of, because we have a lot of students that are currently working, as well as we want students to be able to get credit for that already got those jobs embedded, and trying to build on even internships as well.
Okay, because through that JAG program, they can also provide those students some necessary support to be successful in the jobs they have, as well as transitioning to other jobs or to education. So I do want you to pursue that with us. That is rolling funding. Our other funding was due October 1, but that is rolling, so I'd like for you to continue that. I guess the other thing, I think you ended up answering my other question that I had early on, so that's probably all I have right now. Thank you.
I noticed that there's a kind of a remaining question about how you guys plan to increase, one of your goals is about increasing parental involvement. So you can talk a little bit about how you plan to do that.
Guy who's been a high school principal for a lot of years, it's always interesting on just a regular school where, you drive by the elementary school and the parking lot is absolutely packed. There's a few less cars in the middle school, and when you get to the high school and you've got parent-teacher conferences, you got a few that show, but not many. Same challenges that we face. I think one of the things is we do reach out, we do make home visits, we do talk with individual parents. Word of mouth is huge in a small school. And so with our efforts that we've started with our alumni club, as well as trying to get more parents into the building to actually see what we're doing, is a benefit. The different activities, providing the cookouts. Churches a long time ago realized that if you bring food, they will come kind of deal. And so it's putting together the types of activities in the area. Our basketball program that that Dennis was talking about, as well as our track program, are totally voluntary. They were started by staff not because they were going to get paid, but because they knew the kids needed it. And that brings, when we had a basketball game the other night on campus, and it was our Quest West Little Rock School playing the Premier High School kids, and so we had two of our charter schools playing each other. It was a great opportunity for myself, Mr. Felton, Ms. Campbell, and others to walk around and introduce ourselves, talk with parents, invite them into the school. It's that personal touch that makes all the difference. And so there's a lot of not actual systematic types of ways, as much as there are informal ways that tend to make a difference. I won't lie to you, it's a challenge, but we're also starting to realize and find that some of the parents that are now starting to see that their child who has never been successful in school is starting to experience some success, that word is getting around, and we're getting more people that are coming and visiting and just saying, what can you do for my kid, or what is there? And so, Dennis, any other parental types of activities?
One of the things we found out was awareness and communication. And so one of the things that we incorporated, we actually have a parent-teacher association, and so we give parents a voice. We have parent representation on like our parental involvement committee, our school improvement committee, our Title I school-wide committee, and so we continue to try to get better at the awareness, at the same time giving parents voice. And so like through parent surveys, a lot of times I found out you shouldn't have parent meetings on Wednesday nights, because that's a night where parents like to go to church. And so sending surveys out as well, getting that information from parents, getting feedback, and that way we can make better decisions, and then giving those opportunities like the Booster Club and the Parent-Teacher Association to have a voice as well.
Another question I had was in regards to, the number of kids that are expected to be tested versus the number that actually is, so you're what's called percent tested, and looking at it being really low, and then also with your graduation rate. So my question is that by because of just kids not showing up to test, or is it one of those things that because of your population, that you have several kids coming in and out all the time, you know, is it a data quality issue with like not tracking the kids very well to make sure they should or should not be counted on your records and things like that?
I think it's all of the above in a multiple choice answer to a question. I think that there are a lot of factors that do that. I think the difference with working with that staff is they're not willing to look at any of those as an excuse that it's something that we need to work on. It's something that, you know, we have to instill in those particular kids the importance of that assessment because of the fact that it helps the school, it helps them, and that in general. So I think that it's a combination of a lot of those things. I don't think it's as much of a tracking issue as it is a mobility issue, and that oftentimes, you know, we have kids who have not been there for a long time that may end up sitting for the test because they happen to be there, or kids that have just left. So I think it is a concern as far as something that we need to work on. It's something that we're aware of, but it really, I can't attribute it to one specific issue. I think there are several factors, and several factors that are different for each one of those kids within it. But you are correct in seeing that.
I guess maybe a follow-up, and this may be something to work with some of our folks, is just to make sure that, you know, there's a good understanding of the rules as far as, you know, which kids count, which ones don't. Does that make sense, what I'm asking? Because what I find a lot, and not particular to your district, is there's a lot of schools that, you know, with graduation rate specifically, is that, you know, that's over a 4-year period. So when they start to make corrections in the 12th grade year, or that school's making corrections of past graduates, that they're having to go back several years and figure out, you know, where those kids really went, and should they count on my records, or should I submit a correction? And so those are the kinds of things, and you know, knowing that, you know, we're going for a high threshold in the 90s as far as 95%, is that right, of kids that are required to test, and you guys are 70%.
Yes, sir.
That may be a factor of, you know, this kid really should be on my record as a person that I'm supposed to be testing. It should be.
Great question, thank you. And I agree that, you know.
And one of the things that the department has learned relatively quickly is we have a staff that's really not afraid to pick up the phone and say, hey, we need some help in this area, you know, or what suggestions might you have. I think it's different when somebody comes up and makes a bunch of excuses compared to somebody who comes up and says, you're right, we're going to work with you guys, and we're going to take whatever ideas you have, and we're going to get better at it. And I mean, that's what we're about, so I agree. Thank you. Other questions?
Deeply impressed that you all are working as hard as you can with the most difficult, disadvantaged kids that you have in your school. It's critical to me that you continue your work and provide a ray of hope for those kids that desperately need it. I think both of them mentioned, I think Dr. Williams mentioned too, the communication, or the need for communication and cooperation between Premier and Little Rock School District and others that the kids come from. Do you find, are you finding an open communication or cooperation with other school districts that the kids come from, particularly Little Rock?
And that's a great question, because we are such a unique school in the group of kids and the services that we provide, that I think more so than just other charter schools who are more in direct competition, so to speak, with the traditional types of schools, we find that there's more of a willingness, you know, to work with us and to work with that particular group of kids, because this is a group of kids that for the most part have already taken their shot in the local ISD, and we're providing an option and opportunity to them. So it's our plan to continue as we continue to grow, because there's a need for a premier high school in many areas of Arkansas. It's just not Little Rock. But as we continue to perfect our model here in Little Rock and continue to work with the community, we believe that as we develop a stronger partnership with Little Rock Public Schools, that it's going to help us in general, because again, our heart is for the kids, regardless of whether they're going to Premier or whether they're going to Central, and so we feel very positive about it, and we have not felt the same type of negative reactions that we've seen with certain factions of the Little Rock School District towards charters as it is towards this particular group, because it's very difficult to find an adult, whether they're in the school system or not, who doesn't say we're doing a good thing and trying to help these particular kids. And so we need to continue to work on the partnership to, to make it grow, but there have been a more openness with our particular school than I think with others in Little Rock.
Do you have any? Okay.
Just a follow-up. Looking at the population that you serve, I think it would be over-optimistic to think that you're going to be 100% successful with all the students. How many students are not successful? Let me define that for you. Those will be students that end up dropping out of Premier that do not transition back to another school.
Good question. We're getting better at that. That's one of the things we're trying to do. We've actually developed a individual tracking system. It kind of supplements our individual graduation plan. And so it's a snapshot. We're trying to take a snapshot of what a student has when he comes in the door and a snapshot of when that student leaves. And so that's an area of growth. And we're actually, we've just started getting better at that and putting a system in place in which we could. That way we can do a better job as far as our success. Because sometimes when students come to us as intervention, and if a student comes for 3-4 months or a semester, goes back, then a lot of times we don't get credit for that. So we want to do a better job of being able to showcase what we are doing for every single student.
And I think that question there leads into what I wanted to just bring up too, because first of all, I want to commend you when one of the data things you presented was that 70% of your graduates for the past 70% of your past 4-year graduates are enrolled in post-secondary, some type of post-secondary program. So now, I'm not sure of the number then, your graduation rate is not where you want it. You even mentioned that the average time in your school was about 1.5 years for your students. So, but having those that were successful there, to have that high percentage of those who are now in some type of post-secondary opportunity is a really good thing. So I think where our questions are kind of going is that the key for you all is to help keep your students there. Students who come to you, how do you keep them there? And it's really kind of a retention issue for your students and your teachers. Our data show that you had a 45% attrition rate from last year to this year. It's a lot of teachers to have to replace and to bring up to speed and to really work with and develop to be able to teach students who come with all types of different challenges, academic challenges included. So when I look at your goals, I don't necessarily, I see where you have a goal for increasing student class participation, but you're kind of focusing on the attendance there. So I would encourage you to take that further, and not just student attendance, but that student retention, because I believe that if you do keep those students based on what you've shown us so far, we can really see some changes there. So I would ask you, and this also goes along, I think, with your PLC work. The goals in your PLC work aren't necessarily reflected in the goals that you've stated. So I would ask you all if you would be willing to commit, if your charter's renewal is approved today, if you would commit to coming back and working with us into helping you to really refine those goals, so that we, using the ESS School Index data, using what you all are already doing, but I really think that we can work with you and help you refine these goals so that the goals are very laser focused on what it is that you need.
We would definitely appreciate your support, and one of the cool things about the PLC is here in 3 weeks, our solution tree support will come back. We'll revisit our goals. It's kind of like on a 12-week revolving deal, and so we'll revisit the goals and make some amendments as well. So we appreciate your support.
I just don't want that to be seen as a separate from what you have overall with your school. So I would feel very comfortable with that commitment from you all that, you would be working with our team and bringing all those goals together. But
Yeah, and we'll work with the AD Charter Office.
to update them and to get those things and get them to them as well. And the one other comment I wanted to make, Dr. Williams, that you had on that is one of the neat things about the new program that we've started to start tracking this is it's also going to allow us to start looking at tendencies, which goes right along with, Dr. Pfeiffer, what you were saying about if we can start identifying tendencies of some of the students that we're losing and why we're losing them, there's a good opportunity then for us to develop an internal program within the school that might address that, because if there's one or two, there's probably 10 or 12, or there could even be more. And so, it takes the first step to get to the second, third, and fourth, and, we've taken some of those major steps, but as we start defining tendencies, that will also start defining our goals to some of the other things. So we appreciate the input.
okay, Pamela, do you have any other questions or comments? Okay, Ms. Boyd and Ms. Davis, I was going to go back and look at whether or not there were any new waivers being requested. No new waivers, okay. And so any remaining issues? No, Ms. Davis? Okay, Ms. Boyd, do you have any thoughts or comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if there aren't if there any further discussion, I would entertain a motion on this renewal application.
I move that the Premier High School be renewed for 5 years.
Okay, you have a motion, a second from Dr. Hernandez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations. If you'll wait just a minute, we'll provide you with feedback. We'll start with Dr. Hernandez.
I voted for the motion. Premier High School provides a specialized environment for the students that allows them to work towards graduation and develop a plan for after high school.
Mr. Wilson?
Voted for the motion, pressed and encouraged the Premier High School. There's our responsibility as well on making the effort, superhuman effort almost, and helping the most disadvantaged kids that we have in the community. I appreciate the work that you're doing. You can need for effort.
Ms. Turner?
I voted for the motion. This school is doing great work with a challenging group of students, and this is very important for our community and state. Thank you.
Dr. Williams?
I voted for the motion. Premier High School provides an educational opportunity for students and parents in which there may be limited options. They should continue to work with ADE to refine their goals in tracking of students.
Again, thank you all. We wish you very Merry Christmas and safe travels if you're going to be out and about.
Thank you.
So,
Merry Christmas to you all as well. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Boyd, going back through, do we have anything remaining that we need to discuss or consider?
I just want to make you aware, you'll be receiving correspondence from me soon.
About completing a statement of financial interest. Some of you have done this before from sitting on the state board or in other capacities. So from my understanding, if you've already done one, you don't have to do an additional one for this panel, but for those of you who haven't done one, I'll be communicating with you over the next month to get one completed.
And those that are due at the end of January, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, yes. What are the dates of our next meetings, and what should we expect as far as information and timelines?
Your next meeting is scheduled for January 17th. There is one amendment request that is up for that agenda.
Okay, so January 17th, and only one amendment request?
Yes. I don't have access to my drive right now, but that's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay, and we will be meeting here, is that correct? Okay. We might, since there's only one, we might want to look at the time that might make it more conducive for travel for those who are traveling. I mean, I know coming in for one amendment request, if there's a great distance, it might be where it can be made into a one-day trip. That may be better for some. Any thoughts, discussion about that?
I think that would be great, something like no earlier than a 10 o'clock start time would make it easier for me to drive down.
I'm comfortable with it, is that possible? 10 a.m.
Okay.
One other suggestion, I wear trifocals, so I'll have a look. If we could have we had some of the presentations embedded. The last two were not, and some of the print I couldn't quite see it up on the screen there. So if they could continue to be embedded in our agenda, it'd be helpful.
Yes.
I got it.
Anything else? So if there isn't anything else, we can, I want to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?